After Brett Favre threw an interception late in regulation in the 2009 NFC Championship game, the Vikings would eventually go on to lose in overtime to the Saints. Favre came to the sidelines and said, quote, "I choked." This, according to Favre's then backup, Sage Rosenfels, in a piece he wrote for the Monday Morning Quarterback. Stephen A., let me ask you, are you surprised by this? "I choked," says Brett Favre.
Well, it happened to be a fact, so I guess I can't be but so surprised. I mean, that he would admit such a thing, maybe that's somewhat surprising because we know the prima donna tendencies that he has doesn't lend itself towards thinking that he would admit such a thing, such a mea culpa. But he clearly, you heard the call. You heard the call. I don't know if you was watching that game, but I know Skip was. And he heard the announcer call of the game. Brett Favre dropped back to pass. He pumps, intercepted. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. It was intercepted. You got to be kidding me. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. And the other announcer doing the color commentary, he said, "You can take a knee and try a 56-yard field goal. This isn't Detroit, man. This is a Super Bowl." That's what he said. It was a great call. It was a fantastic call. The most humorous call of the year as far as I'm concerned, because I was laughing. I was laughing like crazy when it happened because I knew it was going to happen because it was Brett Favre, and it was predictable because the gunslinger throwing the touchdowns, fresh off a 102 quarterback rating that season, had 33 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions, was balling, had Skip believing they were going to the Super Bowl, and then he dropped out the pass, he pumped, intercepted. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. So I wasn't surprised at all, So it's nice to see, it's nice to hear him admit it because it is what it is, Skip. Are we surprised? Yes, that he admitted, but that's about all. Assuming he did, by the way, assuming he did. We only take Sage Rosenfeld's word for it.
This topic is so blasphemous. It is so utterly disrespectful to the baddest man in the history of the Green Bay Packers, Brett Favre, as you call him.
Favre.
As you just suggested, we are having to rely on the recollections of one Sage Rosenfels, who started a grand total of 12 NFL games in 10 seasons. So I'm having to lean on this would-be author, Sage Rosenfels, recollection that Brett came to the sideline after throwing said pick and said, "I choked." Now, he's never said that publicly. He's never admitted to that. Again, did he just mutter
He
under
wouldn't.
Yeah, well, and I don't blame him because I don't think he choked. I'm going to say it one more time. Forgive me for dredging all this up, but you started it, and I am going to finish it. Brett Favre took a team that most people thought would finish last in that division that year. He was late to training camp. You scorched him for it, and he proceeded to step right in, play the last exhibition game. I think he played the last two, if memory serves, that year. And during the regular season, as you said, 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. My Dallas Cowboys went to the Metrodome for the first playoff game that year. It was actually their second after they eliminated Donovan McNabb's Eagles, but Minnesota's first playoff game at home. Brett Favre was at his sensational best. I have never seen him play better. He threw 4 touchdown passes, torched those Cowboys, obliterated them in the Metrodome. It was over in about 30 seconds. And then they went to the most difficult place to play in the National Football League, down to New Orleans to the Superdome, where the New Orleans Saints are virtually invincible and were that year. So what happened, Stephen A.? Brett Favre in that game goes 28 for 46 for 310 yards. He takes the Vikings all the way to overtime against a pretty significantly favored Saints team. And what happened? It got to be 3rd and 10 at the 38, late in regulation. And Brad Childress calls timeout. And out of the timeout, he won't listen to me, Carrie, so I'm going to have to talk to you.
Okay, go ahead.
Out of the timeout, Brad Childress, the genius that he is, sends 12 men into the huddle.
Okay.
And the flags fly out of a timeout, 12 men into the huddle.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden,
gone.
it's 3rd and 15.
Yep.
You are suddenly out of field goal range. You're out of field goal range. So what does the gunslinger that is Brett Favre do? He tries to do too much. For really the first time all year, he tried to win the game with one throw. And it was across the field, bad idea throw. And it went Tracy Porter, who was on a magic carpet ride through the playoffs that would carry through into the Super Bowl, picked off Peyton Manning and into the Super Bowl with that one. Remember that one? Tracy Porter picked it off. Game wasn't over yet, Stephen A., but as fate would have it, Brett Favre's team lost the coin toss. And the rules were different then. So what did New Orleans do with the coin toss? They went right down the field thanks to 2 defensive penalties for holding and pass interference. And suddenly, little Garrett Hartley from the University of Oklahoma was in range for the what was it, 39-yard, I don't know, 49-yard field goal, 40-yard field goal that sent them to the Super Bowl. So did Brett Favre go over and say, I choked, kind of muttered it under his breath? Maybe he did. I don't really care about it because he also was in the midst of taking the worst beating I have ever seen a quarterback take in any game, especially a playoff game, Stephen A. Remember, that was the Bounty Bowl. There were bounties on the head of one Brett Favre, and New Orleans would pay a supreme price for what happened before that game and during that game. So Brett Favre took the punishment. So can you write him off as choking in that game because he tried one daredevil throw, one try to save the game throw off a 12 men in the huddle penalty, 12 men on the field penalty? Stop it. Just give him a break. Let the man rest in peace, Sage Rosenfels.
Stephen A.
Well, he acts like he's the only one that saw the game.
Oh, okay.
We all saw the game.
I must be.
We all saw how Brett Favre performed. We just believe what we believe based on what we saw. You want to point out all of those tidbits, and they're absolutely correct. You weren't wrong with anything you pointed out. But it does not change the fact that a veteran quarterback in the NFL who had been in the league for over 18 years would make that decision in an NFC championship game with a berth to the Super Bowl on the line. You can sit there and point that out all you want to. But in the end, you're nothing more than the latest apologist for Brett Favre, pointing out how the woe is me and he's getting a pass and all of this, all of this stuff. He's being victimized. Please. If it were anybody else, we'd be pointing it out. Watching Brett Favre get a pass. He's gotten enough passes.
Get a pass?
He's gotten enough passes.
You and 20 others on this show just annihilated him starting the next day. It went on for weeks. He was creamed on this show again and again. Pass.
He doesn't recollect.
Oh, and he deserved it. And he deserved it.
Yeah.
He deserved it. You probably creamed him too. You probably creamed him too that day.